All right.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Maddy Szmidt. I'm the festival coordinator for Seattle Queer Film Festival, and I am here with the filmmakers of our Girl Shorts program, along with programmer Naya. And we are just going to talk a little bit about the films. Hopefully you all have watched it all already. And so I'm just going to go around and have everyone introduce themselves. And so say your name, your pronouns, what film you're from, and sort of how your film came about. And how about let's start with Stacy.
Okay. Hi, I'm Stacy Jill Calvert. Pronouns are she and her. My film is The Bar Mitzvah, and it is kind of based on a true story of myself as a youngin' going for her first bra with her grandmother in Skokie, Illinois, which is a very super Jewish area. So it's based on true story and kind of went from there, and it's madness and campy and all that fun stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome. Brendan?
Hi, my name is Brendan. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the writer, director, producer of Main Squeeze, which is the Christmas movie that begins with the huge flying dildo. And yeah, my movie was kind of just, I wanted to make something that was about the experience of trying to be faithful to two opposed but equally authentic parts of yourself, and how they vie for your attention and subvert one another, and how hard it is to kind of maintain balance between two parts of yourself that are really different. And I tell that in the story of an ethically non-monogamous couple and their interruption by a secondary partner on a holiday evening.
Awesome.
Very nice.
And Jessica?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jessica Smith. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the writer-director of The Test, which is a short comedy. I tend to not talk too much about what happens in the film because I'm not sure if people are watching this before they've seen it or after they've seen it, and I don't want to give too much away. But it's essentially, I guess, a story about deal breakers within a relationship, and sometimes things that can seem really, really trivial are actually pretty big obstacles that bring up some pretty big questions about where a relationship is going and if it's going to last, and sort of based vaguely off some true events and various bits and pieces of different relationships and different stories from my life and others.
And Penny?
Hi, I'm Penny. I'm the writer-director of Second Parent, and my pronoun is she, her. About 3 years ago, I interviewed a few lesbian couples with kids in the LA area when I was still at USC. I was doing this for a documentary class, and I found this story that really fascinated me. So this couple, in order to be both genetically tied to the child, they used the non-biological mom's brother as their sperm donor so that they can both be tied to the child. But it created like further family tension and like the insecurity and anxiety in this second parent. And I think it is very important to share to the world that different types of queer family. And I found it, even though this insecurity is like ultimately unfounded in most family, I found the fears of inadequate to be a parent is universal that you can find in all kinds of families. So I want to further explore this issue and share to the world that this is not like, this is what one type of the family in the world that we all need to know. Yeah.
Awesome. So Naya, do you want to start off?
Yes, definitely. Question for you, Brendan. So your film explores a wide range of emotions in a relatively short time span without ever being too much of one thing or the other. I'd be curious to know how you were able to find that balance in your film.
Yeah, it was really fun to like swing from these like really tender moments to these really kind of like bigger moments of comedy. And I think like largely that's like kind of an extension of like how I experience the world, you know, like I'm always kind of riding the roller coaster ride from like, you know, like one moment you're having that really serious conversation with somebody and the next moment, like you're just like laughing your ass off about something ridiculous. That's just kind of, I think like how I navigate the world in my relationships a little bit. So maybe that's a little bit of my own personal perception. I think also there's a part of that that is like, that's kind of the holiday spirit, you know, like when you thrust a bunch of people who aren't normally spending time together and put a bunch of booze in the mix, which is like what the holidays are, like inevitably you experience the gamut of emotions. So I think that's also partially like a Christmas inspiration. I also think like the main character who makes the intervention, like who like ultimately shows up kind of unwanted in the middle of the night, like she's an especially like earnest character, like very passionate, and so like her passion kind of like instigates a lot of like, you know, like real conversations, both at a really high energy level, which is like yelling and screaming, but also in these really tender and really softer moments, because that's just who she is. She's just like an instigator. So I think that's kind of the combination of those three things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for asking.
And so then I think we're gonna move on to Second Parent. It's a very poignant film, I felt, and it really like captured the main character's sort of anxiety and uncomfort with, you know, this second parent relationship. And I just sort of wanted to know, like, sort of how you decided to focus on those emotions in the film and sort of how you decided to portray them and like what you wanted to express.
All right. First of all, thank you for your kind words. And I think the whole story, about like 70% is based on true like story, family tension, emotion. And I think I wanted to further explore this because I found it really interesting that if this would be a heterosexual family, people wouldn't like even think it's weird that the kid is at this age that they're really tied to their mom, or like they need their mom really much, or like the separation anxiety, they wouldn't even doubt it. But since this is a 2-month family, I think it is really, for this second parent, I think it would be it's quite devastating to her that when I was first interviewing them, she was able to, I appreciate her she can be vulnerable with us and say that it is really, I think it's an ongoing challenge for her. Like even now, she said that whenever, like, because this uncle is still, like, the kid has a really good relationship with this uncle because he's a very loving uncle. But like whenever she sees them like playing, having fun, that she needs to always remind herself that this is like, she needs to give herself more credit, and then she needs to be kind to herself, give herself more empathy, that just be kind to herself. And I think this is very important, as like I think all parents have this kind of fear of inadequacy, of not being a good enough parent. So yeah, I think this is the topic that I want to explore. I don't know if I answered all of your question. I kind of lost.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Great. My next question is for Stacy and Jessica. How do you go about making comedy in your film and getting the pacing right for the comedy so that like your jokes land?
I'll let Stacey answer.
Okay. Well, so with the Bar Mitzvah, so I wrote the script, and when I was writing the script, met with my DP, Jacqueline Chesson, and we were talking about stuff. And I originally wanted to get old Jewish bubbies, grandmas, to be part of the film. And it was really hard because I had no money. We had money, but, not enough to make, a big casting call kind of thing. So Jacqueline knew some friends of hers who were kind of drag performers, but also cabaret, also improv people. And that's who we brought on, Craig and Beth, who are the bubbies. And so their background is improv. And then my friend Bridget McManus, who's a stand-up comedian, she was in the role too. And so what we did was we kind of just let them go. We said, okay, here's some basic lines, go. And oh my goodness, we have so much footage. It was really hard, trying to pick it. But I think that's where it's really important to be close if you're not editing it yourself, but being close with the editor. Jacqueline was my editor as well. And so, Kelly Weinhardt Henry, who was my producer. So the three of us were able to work together to kind of make that pacing happen. A lot of it's Jacqueline, really, making those edits, making, stuff sound funnier or a little more poignant. Editing is such a skilled thing. But yeah, I think for us, a lot of it was just kind of having a fun set. I heard Olivia Wilde say this, I think, about Booksmart, where she's like, I didn't want any assholes on set. and that was kind of my mantra, and we didn't. We had the most amazing cast and crew, and everyone collaborated. The story changed. The very end of the story was supposed to be a little different, and that literally changed that day, which I think made it so much better. So it was just a lot of collaboration. I think just working with people and being comfortable with people, I think, will bring out the natural comedy for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything Stacey just said, and it's pretty similar. My experience was pretty similar in the sense of creating a really fun environment and just having the right people. And I think, what's that old saying, 90% of directing is casting. Well, I think 99% of directing might have been casting in this instance, because I honestly just relied so much on my two leads, excuse me. And that was always really important to me, because when I wrote the script, the script in itself has, a couple of little funny lines, but it was always very clear to me that the two leads had to have a really good rapport, and, have some talent and be able to play off each other really well. And I was really lucky, same as Stacey, didn't really have much money, but sort of through a couple of connections, I got a really good friend who used to be a casting director. So he kind of just knows everyone in Australia, basically. And we were sort of, when I was thinking about making the film, he said to me, well, who would your ideal cast be? And the first name that came to my head was Michaela Bannis, who plays one of the girls in my film. And she's quite well known down here. And she's just so naturally comically gifted, and is able to just take a line and just do something completely unexpected with it. And then Christy Whelan Brown, who plays her partner in the film, is also very funny and talented in her own right, but they know each other really well, and have worked together a number of times. They did a stage play. They did The Odd Couple, a gender-flipped Odd Couple together. So they really had that rapport going. And I think they're just immediately believable as a couple, because they know each other so well, and they can sort of just poke fun at each other a little bit, which was really important. And again, same as Stacey, there were moments, most of it they stuck to the script, but when you see the film, the sequence that runs over the credits was completely unscripted. So the last take, I just said, okay, once that final line from the script is said, I'm just going to let you run, and just didn't call cut for ages, because Michaela just took it and went nuts. And that was a lot of fun. So it was, honestly, it was the cast. I don't really feel like I did much in terms of the comedy. I think it was all them.
Yeah, that's interesting to know about a little bit of the history between your leads, because as I was watching it, I'm like, do they know each other? Are they together? They clicked so well, and just little side eyes, and I think that's a terrible name. Like
Yeah.
it worked really well, and that was so
Yeah,
fun.
funnily enough, because I posted an outtake on Instagram, I think yesterday or the day before. So I was looking through some old footage to find that. And yeah, some of those, especially that scene, there was the scene where they're discussing the names, and the doctor who comes in and sort of cuts them off forgot to come in. She missed her cue. So there's just this footage back, B-roll footage of them just really having a go at each other, and I wish I could have put it in the film, but it didn't work for the film, obviously. But that's the kind of vibe that they had. They were just, when the cameras weren't rolling, they were just making a lot of fun of each other and having a really good time.
Awesome. So another question I have for everybody would be sort of like, did your idea at the beginning sort of match what you ended up having, or did it end up changing through filming, through writing, through editing? Sort of like, did your vision come to fruition, or did it change for the better?
Mine definitely changed. I mean, it was there. I mean, the whole story was there. Everything was there. But because of circumstances, we had to change locations. I will not go into that story, but we had to change locations for the rest of the shoot, which actually worked out so much better for us. So there was like little stuff that I thought, oh, this is going to look like that. And it didn't look anything like, what I thought it was going to be. And then also I come from a documentary background. This is like my first real narrative with a professional cast and not one of my undergrads holding my lights. So, so it was a big learning curve for me in a lot of ways. So I think some of the stuff that I thought I was going to put in there, like, we just didn't have time because we had to, get to the next shot. But overall, like I really, again, I'm thankful for the cast and crew and how collaborative everyone was, because I think that really made the film what it is.
Yeah, I can say again, similar to Stacey, I had the kind of initial idea that it was going to be almost like a student film, in the sense that it was just going to be literally with no money. It was going to be all my friends. I was at one point, I'm like, well, I'll just be in it, and I'll just, grab a friend and we can do it together, and we won't have we'll just have someone press record on the camera and then maybe a light here and there. And then funnily enough, we were sort of almost all systems go to just shoot it that way. And then Michaela and Christy came on board, and I was like, oh, now I've kind of got these really good actors, and I feel like I need to do them a bit more justice than just shining one light in their face. And I had a friend of mine who was going to operate the camera. He's, by no means a professional DP, but, serviceable. And he was like, yeah, I'll come along, I'll do something. And then one of the actors was unavailable for that day that we were going to shoot, so we had to change our shoot date, which meant I lost him as a cameraman. And then I was kind of freaking out because we were sort of only a few weeks out at this point, and someone suggested I give Sky Davies a call, who ended up being my cinematographer. And I didn't know her. It was a friend through a friend through a friend. And she's brilliant. And as soon as she came on board, she was like, right, no, you need to scrap because most of the film is set in a waiting room. And I was just going to go to a real medical clinic waiting room and shoot there. They're not the prettiest of places. So we made one, and it ended up just looking so much better than if we had have shot it in an actual medical clinic. We got to choose a color palette. We got to kind of create this world that was kind of rooted in reality, and that it's a medical clinic, but it also seems production designed just enough so that that not everything is quite as it seems, and it gives it that sort of comedy element that you might not have had if it felt really realistic. So to answer the question directly, I guess it didn't end up how I'd pictured it. It ended up a lot better, which is a good news story, I think.
Brandon, you want to go next?
With an extremely unserious answer to this question. I kept hearing from film festival programmers make sure you grab us in the first like minute of the movie. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll come up with something. So I came up with this dildo was going to fly through the window at the beginning, but I didn't have any money and I didn't have any really experience with special effects. And then I found this like big dildo, and I was like, how am I going to get this through a window? And let me tell you, it was as challenging as it sounds. Like we tried to get some breakaway glass and we tried throwing it like up and through the window, and like anyway, it was a nightmare. It did not turn out the way that I expected. It's still like a great fun beginning to the movie, but let me tell you that was a lot harder than I anticipated. And it was a fun challenge. I will never forget like being halfway out the window of the apartment, leaning out onto the snow-covered roof, trying to recover this errant dildo that had glanced off the side of the house and fallen on the roof.
Yeah.
It's weird. You know? Like you end up in the police training. Yeah.
Cool. I think I was very lucky that I was able to keep most of my vision and my theme and the message that I want to pass. I got a really supportive group, cast and crew. Also, like I've become really good friends with these couples. So they let us shoot in their house. And so because when I was writing the screenplay, I pictured their house and wrote the script. So it was really cool to like be able to shoot in the same location where I first interviewed them and where the story was inspired. And I would say the only vision that I didn't get, it was that at the end, the duck shot, it was supposed to be duckling. but because when we were doing the pre-production, because I wanted to parallel the opening shot of the rubber duck in the bathtub. But then it was like when we didn't know, we learned, I think it's a good lesson to learn that duck doesn't breed in what season was that when we were shooting? It was end of October, and we couldn't get ducklings because they don't breed in that season. Yeah, that was the only vision that I didn't get. But I think because I had a clear message that I want to pass, and because it is I actually this aquaphobia theme is actually fictional, and I think I used water, this element, to symbolize the fear, the anxiety, the insecurity, and also that is something that the main character can't change, and she just need to realize at the end that she doesn't need to change at all. Like she doesn't need to overcome her aquaphobia in order to like get closer to her daughter. All she needs to believe is that as long as she like loves her, as long as she cares her daughter and be the parent that she is right now, like her kid will know that one day. And I think I did it, and that makes me really happy.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting to hear how all of your films sort of shifted and changed. Naya, do you have any other questions?
I'd like to know, what are you working on now? What's next? Especially given the world right now.
Yeah. I'm actually currently rewriting the feature-length version of Second Parent. I have like 2 drafts already. Thank you. And yeah, and also developing a TV show, because like during like quarantine. Well, I just moved back to Taiwan, and this is one of the safest places in the world right now that we can still make film. So I think I want to seize this opportunity to make another short at least before I move back to the States. And yeah, developing a TV show, also like writing a short soon.
Nice. I'm working on a couple of things. I'm sort of developing another short, just because I forgot how much I love making short films, and it's less stress than trying to write a feature film. So I'm developing a new short that's just going to be sort of a coming of age, based on me my experiences as a teen, figuring out my sexuality in the 90s, because that almost classes as a period piece now, which is makes me feel old. And also working on a feature script that I'm writing specifically for Kate McKinnon. She doesn't know it yet, but that's my plan.
She'll learn about it.
Exciting.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get this to her somehow.
Yeah.
What am I doing? I'm doing a lot, but the one thing that actually it's been talked about a lot this past week. It was talked actually the first table read. I joked, I'm like, I want to do this as a musical, and everyone's like, what? And so we're starting to develop to see if we can do a feature of the Bar Mitzvah, but it would be the B Mitzvah, and it would be kind of regarding like the whole entire week. I'm a Gen Xer, so I grew up with John Hughes movies, despite problematic stuff. I grew up with that and that chaos, and so we're thinking about doing something in that vein, not the problematic parts, let's put it that way, but but
just take the bits you like. Just take
the bits we like. Yeah, with
Yeah.
a big, huge queer Jewish family. So
Amazing.
yeah, that's kind of what we're going for next. Yeah.
I managed to shoot a new short film in the summertime, which is my first publicly funded film that I would love to return to the Seattle Queer Film Festival to show. It's about a kinky encounter between two lonely cat enthusiasts and a macabre test of one of their social obscurity. So it's a little sad, a little sexy, and a little morbid. And I'm cutting it right now, and I'm very excited about it. And I can't wait to share it with you, Naya and Maddy. And yeah, I have a feature project. I'm doing my MFA right now, so I have a bunch of kind of things that I'm writing with the hopes of shooting when the MFA is over and this pandemic is over.
Yeah.
We'll be super excited to see it screening next year.
Yeah, I can't wait to see all.
Oh, I can't wait.
All these new features and shorts. Everyone's getting a preview of next year. Hopefully we can all shoot some stuff before 2021 is over.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely get there.
Yeah. I'd just like to thank all of you guys for coming. This was so fun to talk to all of you. And
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great.
Yeah. And check out all these filmmakers on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm sure you all are on there. And check out the rest of our Girl Shorts program if you have not seen it already. And yeah, thank you all for coming.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, everybody.